A fox! There finally is a chapter with a fox in Wano. This guy is gonna be my new companion. This chapter somehow didn't really feel very One Piece-like, but I really enjoyed the vibe it had, even though there was not too much action. Chapter 953 of One Piece is out, and I really have to say that it caught me by surprise. I'm not exactly sure what I expected, but certainly not a flashback chapter for Kawamatsu. But it was really awesome. The reveal at the end was just a big red cherry on top for me. Once again, I want to discuss the chapter with you and answer your questions for the first hour the video is online. So definitely make sure to drop a comment and maybe even a like. Before we dive into the story, I really want to take a moment and appreciate the atmosphere Oda managed to create in this chapter. Even though it's August, it really gave me that wintry and snowy feeling of the cold Ringo region. So grab yourself something warm to drink and let's unravel this great chapter. The first thing we see is a letter that Hiyori gave to Kawamatsu 13 years ago. In order to protect the Kappa from any harm coming her way as the daughter of Odin, she decided to leave his side and live on her own from now on. Kawamatsu, however, is of course deeply worried about this and apparently spent probably weeks or even months looking for the princess all over Wano. Finally, after being unable to find her, Kawamatsu swore himself to commit seppuku, the honorable suicide for samurai, in case anything would happen to Hiyori. He then gave himself a new mission. Believing that a new revolution against Kaido and the Shogun would come in the future, Kawamatsu took it upon himself to ensure that enough weapons would be available once that day would arrive. He journeyed north into the snowy region of Ringo to find the so-called Eternal Graveyard. There, in the icy cold, the corpses of the samurai of the region lay preserved, with their swords marking their graves. Without a doubt, this will have some meaning later on in the story. It is possible that Moria came to Wano to get the corpses of some of these samurai there, like he did with Ryuma. But it's also possible though that this will play a role in the future of the arc. In any case, I'm curious how this will come up later on. In this context, Kawamatsu also tells us a little bit more about the history of the region. Ringo and also Hakumai were apparently ruled by the same daimyo, Shimotsuki Ushimaru, a master swordsman, but more importantly, always accompanied by a fox. Since it's not really explicitly stated that he died, and Oda once again didn't bother to reveal his face, I would make the bold assumption that this guy might very well still be alive. I really hope that we will get to meet him in the future. He sounds like a very interesting character. What we do know for certain though is that Kaido was the one who ultimately laid waste to Ringo in the end and turned it into the forsaken land it now is. So upon arriving at the Eternal Graveyard 13 years ago, Kawamatsu discovered that the fox of the former daimyo was still there, protecting the graveyard from grave robbers, mostly being some of the beast pirates. The name of the fox was Onimaru, and he had kept the place safe for over 5 years after the destruction of Ringo, being badly wounded and starved out. Kawamatsu took care of him and nursed him back to health. However, once Onimaru found out that Kawamatsu planned on removing all the swords from the graves, at first he tried to stop the Kappa and attacked him. But after Kawamatsu explained what his plan was, the fox understood without problems what his real ambition was, and he joined in helping to retrieve the weapons. Together, the two of them worked for weeks or maybe months to secure as many weapons as possible. Whenever real grave robbers tried to invade the graveyard coming over Ohagi Bridge, Kawamatsu would chase them away as Gyukimaru. Then, one day, Kawamatsu was caught stealing food for them and was thrown into prison. And as we find out, even after Kawamatsu failed to return to him, Onimaru took over his role as guardian of the bridge and thus became Gyukimaru himself. But isn't Gyukimaru a man? Well, as it turns out, the fox either has eaten a devil fruit and can turn into a man, or he has some other mythical power that allows him to do that naturally. Of course, there also is the option that Onimaru is actually a human that can transform into a fox. I can't wait to find out which one it is. And I really hope he will play a major role in this arc. And not just cause he's a fox, I swear. As we find out, Kawamatsu and Onimaru had created an underground arsenal room where all the collected weapons have been kept safe from Orochi and Kaido. The Kappa now contacts Kinemon about this, whose plan really starts to come together now, even though he himself hasn't done too much in this arc yet. To be honest, I'm a little bit sad about that, because I really like Kinemon, and I really hope he will get more to do over the course of events. Finally, we get the interaction between Hiyori and Zoro about Shusui that I've really been looking forward to since last week. Hiyori begs Zoro to return the legendary sword to the country since it's a national treasure. When Zoro refuses, the princess drops a bomb on us. She offers Zoro another sword in return for Shusui. This sword is called Enma, after one of the Buddhist gods, and it belonged to no one less than Odin himself. And it was the blade that gave Kaido his scar. Wow, that was one hell of a reveal here at the end. Not only do we find out that Odin was able to wound Kaido, but it looks like Zoro might get his hands on a truly legendary weapon. And does this not imply in a way that Zoro will go on to wound Kaido as well? Maybe Oda has even bigger plans for our swordsman than we all thought anyway. I honestly always expected Zoro to keep Shusui after leaving Wano, but considering the name and history of Enma, it might be a truly fair compensation. I'm really curious to see what Zoro decides to do and can't wait to find out how Enma really looks like. And I know a YouTuber or two that will go crazy about this new reveal. So there you have it, guys. A really unconventional chapter of One Piece that I crazily enjoyed nonetheless. We learned a lot more about the history of Wano, and we got introduced to another very interesting and mysterious character with Shimozuki Ushimaru, the former daimyo of Ringo and Hakumai, who might very well still be alive. We also got the crazy reveal about Odin's sword Enma and Hiyori's offer to trade it for Zoro's Shusui. But most importantly, we got introduced to Onimaru, the shape-shifting kitsune whom I already love. All in all, guys, I absolutely love this chapter. Even though it was rather quiet, it really captured me. It really felt like so much happened, even though it was the same length as always. But now I really can't wait to hear your thoughts and questions about this chapter. As promised, I will answer your questions for the very first hour this video is online. So don't forget to leave a comment and also leave a like in case you really enjoyed this review. But of course, as always, you can also dislike, don't share and unsubscribe. I hope to see you around next time, and until then, have a great week. Oh yeah, and also keep an eye out for my new analysis video that will be coming out soon. Bye!